Hello there, this is the World News at 12 on Voice of the People 90.3 FM. I am Solomon of FM, and here are the top stories. Shettima and Gbajabiamila arrive in London to receive Buhari's body. National Assembly postpones legislative duties to July 22 to honor Buhari. IPOB reactions reigniting conspiracy theory of Buhari's death. Governor Sanwo-Olu celebrates APC's local government election victory. Opposition parties reject Lagos local government poll results. Nigeria's U.S. exports plummet by $527 million amid rising trade tension. On a foreign scene, Trump says U.S. will send Patriot missiles to Ukraine. And in sports, Chelsea stuns PSG 3-0 to win Club World Cup final. Those are our top stories. Details coming up now. Vice President Kashim Shettima and the Chief of Staff to the President Femi Gbajabiamila have arrived in London, the United Kingdom, to receive the body of the late President Muhammadu Buhari, who passed on Sunday. The Vice President and the Chief of Staff led to the Nigerian delegation to London early Monday. The Nigerian legislation to the United Kingdom was received by the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Yusuf Tugar, Borno State Governor Babagana Zulum, among others. President Bola Tinubu had on Sunday directed Shettima and Gbajabiamila to lead the Nigerian delegation to receive the body of his predecessor for burial in Nigeria. Buhari, whose ramrod straight posture endeared him to many, died in London on Sunday at about 4:30 p.m. following a prolonged illness, though the nature of the illness was not disclosed. Buhari had fell ill in 2017 and was flown to the UK sometimes early in May of the year and returned later in August for the same year. Just last week, Buhari spokesman Garba Shehu said in a television interview that though the former president was hospitalized, it was not intense as reported. He was hospitalized and now he is being cared for. He is in a recovery mode. Tinubu immediately ordered flags at half-mast to mark a respect for the departed leader and offered his deep condolences to the family of the late president. Let's take a listen to the reaction of a cross-section of Nigerians to the late Muhammadu Buhari's passing, reported by Adiola Adelusi.
Fun and good, death is inevitable according to the English. It's what happens to everybody and nobody will escape it. Personally, I'm not happy that we lost him because there are some people that he's good to. You get? So you cannot say you are happy over the death of any human being, irrespective of class or whatever that person has done. On it, I said sorry to the family, sorry to Nigerians, and sorry to everybody. We lost him.
About the death of Buhari, like what my colleague had just said, we are sorry, nobody is happy about the death. But I believe they should learn a lesson, most especially in leaders of Nigeria. Nobody is going with every word. Accumulating word does not mean anything. They appointed you there as the president of this nation. Try as much as possible to make the people happy. What has he gone with? What are the benefits apart from the name that he has made? So our president, those who are occupying the position of the government, should be able to have the mind of their people in whatever position they have given to them, assigned to them. Thank you.
Meanwhile, the National Assembly has suspended legislative activities in the Senate and House of Representatives until Tuesday, July 22, 2025. The postponement of plenary in both legislative chambers was announced by the Clerk of the National Assembly, Kamoru Ogunlona, in a statement on Monday. According to Ogunlona, the suspension of plenary was to honor former President Muhammadu Buhari, who died on Sunday, July 13, 2025 in London, United Kingdom. The leadership of both chambers extended heartfelt condolences to the government and people of Nigeria, Katsina State, his wife Aisha, children, and the entire Buhari family. Buhari, who hailed from Daura, Katsina State in Nigeria's northwest zone, served as the country's military head of state between January 1918 and August 1985 rather. With the country's return to democracy in 1999, Buhari contested for president in 2003, 2007 and 2011, but he lost despite having 12 million votes in each of the elections. In 2013, his Congress for Democratic Change (CPC) joined forces with Tinubu's Action Congress of Nigeria (ACN), some factions of the People's Democratic Party (PDP), and the All Progressive Grand Alliance (ABGA) to birth the All Progressive Congress (APC). In the 2015 election, during their change mantra, Buhari with his running mate Yemi Osinbajo ousted then incumbent Goodluck Jonathan of the PDP and got himself the much coveted Asu Villa spot. Similarly, the indigenous people of Biafra IPOB has reacted to the death of former President Muhammadu Buhari. In a statement following the announcement by Garba Shehu, a former spokesperson for the presidency, confirmed the death of Buhari. The group described the revelation as long overdue vindication for its leader Nnamdi Kanu, who had consistently claimed that Buhari died in 2017. According to the IPOB spokesperson, Comrade Emma Powerful, the group referenced long-standing claims made by Kanu concerning the leadership of the country and called for deeper reflection on the country's political history between 2017 and 2023. The group stated that Kanu had, for far back as 2017, raised questions about President Buhari's health and presence in public life, adding that recent acknowledgements by former government officials have reignited public debate around those claims. Mazi Nnamdi Kanu spoke on sensitive matters that many dismissed at the time, the statement says. Recent development only highlights the need for transparency and open dialogue in governance. That was in quote. While avoiding direct reference to conspiracy theories, IPOB emphasized the need for public accountability, urging Nigerians to examine the implications of official silence on important national issues. Lagos State Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu has described the All Progressive Congress victory in Saturday's local government elections as a collective win for all Lagosians, saying the result reflects public confidence in the party's leadership and grassroots development agenda. APC clinched all 57 chairmanship seats and 375 out of 376 councillorship positions in the local government election held in Lagos State on Saturday. In a statement, the governor congratulated the APC, its leaders, stakeholders and supporters for what he called a resounding victory across the 37 local government areas and local council development areas in the state. He congratulated the newly elected chairmen and councillors, but reminded them that the real work begins now. The governor urged the winners to govern with humility, transparency and compassion and to reach across all divides. To aspirants who lost in the primaries, Sanwo-Olu hailed their courage and commitment, urging continued loyalty and unity within the party. Sanwo-Olu also commended the Lagos State Independent Electoral Commission for conducting what he described as a peaceful and credible election and thanked security agencies for maintaining law and order throughout the process. In the same vein, the People's Democratic Party (PDP) and the Action People Party (APP) in Lagos State have rejected outcomes of the Saturday's local government elections in the state, saying the outcomes did not reflect the will of residents. APC won all 57 chairmanship seats and 375 out of 376 councillorship seats in the council election held on Saturday, according to the Lagos State Independent Electoral Commission (LASIEC). Reacting, Chief Sunday Olaifa, the PDP deputy chairman, Lagos West, said results of the election were manipulated to favor APC, saying the ruling party did not win as claimed. He gave an instance where at Ajao Estate of Isolo LTDAs, out of 36 polling units till the close of the election, LASIEC officers were not in about 22 polling units. Olaifa, who noted that the process leading into the election was flawed with many candidates not cleared, said that the election fell short of all known democratic standards. Abiola Adeyemi, the APP chairman, described last year's disenfranchisement of some candidates properly nominated by the political parties as uncalled for. She said that the just concluded election was not an improvement in any way on previous exercises, urging the commission to go back to the drawing board. According to her, the exercise, many stakeholders, especially the political parties, were disappointed in the conduct of the election. Away from election matters now, the trade relationship between the United States and Nigeria has suffered a significant setback as official data from the U.S. Census Bureau and the Bureau of Economic Analysis shows that U.S. imports of Nigerian goods decreased by $527 million in the first 5 months of 2025 compared to the same period in 2024. This represents a nearly 20% year-on-year decline amid recent bilateral trade tensions between the two nations. In the corresponding periods of 2024, the U.S. imported goods worth $2.65 billion from Nigeria. That figure fell sharply of $2.12 billion between January and May 2025. The decline comes amid a wave of renewed protectionist measures spearheaded by U.S. President Donald Trump, who signed an executive order on April 2, 2025, including a general 10% import tariff on most countries. Under this policy, known as the Liberation Day Tariff Framework, Nigeria was targeted with a higher tariff rate of 14% due to its previous trade surplus with the U.S. Although Nigeria remains one of the U.S. largest African trade partners, the impact of Trump's renewed trade policy agenda is being felt. However, it is important to note that energy-related products, including crude oil, Nigeria's main exports, were explicitly exempted from these tariffs. Despite this exemption, the overall decline in Nigeria export to the U.S. indicates a broader slowdown, not limited to oil. Other Nigerian exports, including agriculture and manufactured goods, have been affected by the uncertainty generated by the new trade policies. It is now time to join our Abuja studio with more news.
And now to developments in the nation's capital. I am Nkamion John. Vice President Kashim Shettima and the Chief of Staff to the President Femi Gbajabiamila have arrived in London to receive the body of the late former President Muhammadu Buhari. The duo led a Nigerian delegation to the United Kingdom early Monday morning, following President Bola Tinubu's directive issued on Sunday. Upon arrival, the delegation was received by Nigeria's Minister of Foreign Affairs, Yusuf Tuga, and Borno State Governor Babagana Zulum, amongst other officials. President Buhari passed away in London on Sunday at approximately 4:30 p.m. after a prolonged illness. Though the nature of the illness has not been made public, President Buhari, known for his upright posture and firm leadership style, served Nigeria both as military and civilian president and will be laid to rest in Nigeria with full state honors. The senator representing the Federal Capital Territory, Ireti Kingibe, has defected from the Labour Party to the Nigerian Democratic Congress (ADC) ahead of the 2027 general elections. Speaking to journalists in Abuja, Senator Kingibe described the move as deliberate and strategic. She said her official defection to the ADC will be marked by what she called noise and fanfare. On her confidence in the party's leadership and coalition plans, the senator said, and I quote, responding to concerns that her defection may cost her Senate seat, Kingibe argued that the Labour Party is currently divided into two factions, a situation that, according to her, meets the constitutional grounds for defection. She also claimed that the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, received two sets of results and candidates from the divided party, though neither was officially accepted. The Federal Capital Territory Police Command says it is investigating the circumstances behind the death of a 23-year-old lady, Grace Godwin, who was suspected to have been killed by a one-chance operator and dumped by the roadside in the Jabi area of Abuja. The command's public relations officer, Josephine Ade, disclosed this in a telephone conversation with our correspondent on Sunday. A security analyst, Zola Makama, who shared details of the incident on X on Sunday, disclosed that the lifeless body of the lady was found by the roadside on Saturday. Makama disclosed that Godwin was reported to have boarded a commercial vehicle on Friday evening before she was discovered dead on Saturday. Makama stated, and I quote, a 23-year-old woman identified as Grace Godwin was found dead on Saturday morning in the Jabi area of Abuja in what police suspects to be a case of adoption and possible murder. Godwin, a fuel attendant at the mobile filling station in Mabuchi, was discovered unconscious by the roadside near Iya Abubakar Street around 6 a.m. Preliminary investigations revealed that Grace boarded a commercial vehicle around 8:53 p.m. on Friday at Mabuchi, a vehicle suspected to be operated by a one-chance criminal gang. The suspects reportedly contacted her family at 11:56 p.m. to demand a ransom. A fresh crisis is brewing in the Federal Capital Territory as indigenous contractors have vowed to shut down major roads in Abuja this week to protest over alleged non-payment of contract fees for the past 10 months. The contractors, mostly local firms handling cleaning, street light maintenance, security services, and other infrastructural projects, accuse the FCT administration of deliberate sabotage. They claim many of the contracts have been fully certified and completed, but the administration has failed to release payment despite repeated appeals and submitted documentation. At a strategic meeting held over the weekend in Abuja, the aggrieved contractors resolved to stage a mass protest to demand immediate payment and warned that the darkness is fueling a surge in a one-chance robbery and assault case. And that's developments from the nation's capital. I am Nkamiang John.
That was Nkamiang John reporting from the studios in the nation's capital, Abuja. You're currently listening to the World News at 12 right here on Voice of the People 90.3 FM. We'll take a short break. When we return, we'll head into the analysis segment. If you're just tuning in, this is the World News at 12 on Voice of the People 90.3 FM. I have Akim Malolu, President of Yoruba Ronu Leadership Forum. Mr. Malolu, thank you so much for joining us on the News at 12. So, let's start with the news that's been trending since yesterday, the death of former President Muhammadu Buhari. I don't want us to go into details of how it happened again, because I'm sure our listeners and our viewers already heard everything. But what do you think the late president's legacy will be?
If we go by the plea made by the wife of the late president, Aisha Buhari, that his husband asked for forgiveness, then we will say there were regrets as well as achievements. He has asked for forgiveness for the errors he made in governance, for what he allowed to strive, and his legacies will be one which Nigerians will look without sentiments and emotion as a man who is a true leader of his nation. No man is ever perfect. No man is a fountain of knowledge. We must give it to him that he has been very transparent. He was transparent all through his life in managing money, in moving his mind out of selfish desires. He's not a greedy leader. And since we have seen him not to be a greedy leader, that is a plus to what we shall put down as part of his legacies. Don't forget what I have just said. No man is perfect. No man is a fountain of knowledge. But he has been able to turn around a bit, and he accepts blames. He never used dictatorship to rule his government. We knew he was a military head of state before he became a civilian president. But in comparison to what we have today, he respected the Constitution. That is a good legacy for him. Thank you very much.
Well, we in Africa, we have this saying that you don't speak ill of the dead, and from lots of condolences and people talking about Buhari, someone would think he was 100% perfect, but we know that his leadership was marred with different controversies. So having to talk really of what his legacy will be, what do you think some of those controversial situations that may truncate his the little good deed, while the president of Nigeria, both as military leaders and as a civilian leader?
Yes, there were corruption, which even when he was told, he did nothing about them. I could remember during the COVID period, a very dangerous period in 2019 or so. The boss Mustafa was the secretary to the government of the Federation at that time. And he was the management head of COVID-19. And there was a conversation in one of the TV stations by one of the ministers that they were going to do area fumigation of Nigeria. And our forum had to intervene. We intervened because area fumigation is a tragedy on Nigerians, on the agricultural products like fish ponds, like this, like that, like those who are very asthmatic. And they had to push away the idea of area fumigation because it was in the news. Vanguard carried it. Newspaper carried it. Yes, he did certain things which he should not have done, but he made corrections. I will say of another one. When he allowed Kanu, Maradi, Michika, Kanu, Michika, Maradi train link, it was because there is a feedstock of crude oil at Agadem in Niger Republic. And that rail line that connects Maradi to Michika, Michika has a refinery being built by Niger Republic. And our forum, our leadership forum, Yoruba Rono, we came out publicly and told him this is to give unneeded advantage clear advantage and discrimination against the South, because when you have a refinery, that means you have enough quantity of supplies of petrol, of petrochemicals and everything. And what happened to our own refineries downstairs at the South? Are we going to be import dependent? That was what made him, from that statement we made, to start to carry out repairs on the refineries, which the government now wants to put up for sale after enormous amount has been used to refurbish them, though they are not working at good capacity. So he made some things which were wrong, but he was also able to correct himself.
That's putting it very, very mildly, sir. I mean, it looks like you're really trying to adhere to that not speaking ill of the dead situation.
No. You see, he was a listening leader. That is exactly what I wanted to point out. That when you criticize him, he seeks for opinion. He will adjust himself.
Well,
unlike what we have today.
Under him, there were lots of threats from DSS. I mean, I was in the media then, so I know some of the threats that were going on. I mean, he wasn't exactly tolerant to criticism, actually.
Well, our forum criticized him, and we told him that he should not engage in self-glorification. Yes, we did. That when he had a retreat with his ministers, they were backslapping themselves. They were glorifying him, and we made the statement that things are not as good as you think they are. So stop self-glorification. You see, he adjusted to some extent, though the economy almost collapsed in his hand.
Almost collapsed. The economy collapsed.
In his hand. Yes.
The economy collapsed practically, not almost collapsed.
No. There was no total collapse because we won. You see,
your definition of almost collapse is different.
Well, I may have abused that word, but the economy was getting worse. You know, we are talking of food sustainability, security, and all of those things.
Because the economy was actually terrible during Jonathan period. I mean, so terrible that people had to vote in APC. I mean, but nobody thought the APC government would become even 100 times worse than how bad the
Jonathan's period. No, Jonathan's period was a period of subsidies in education, in energy, in petrol. Tuition fees were free, and he was still able to put naira at that rate, that stable rate.
That wasn't how it. I mean, I think the Buhari's presidency now made Jonathan presidency look like it came from heaven. But that wasn't how it was originally, which was why people wanted change. And APC's propaganda got into people's hearts and decided to say, okay, let's get a change. But that wasn't what it looks like during the Jonathan period. It's just that people just didn't know that it would ever get even worse when the APC came into power.
When the APC came into power, if you remember, the first 3 months of Buhari, he made it openly clear to everyone that he met an economy that has gone down, that they are in a recession. And the lady who was the Minister for Finance, coordinating the economy, Kemi Adeosun, she spent quality period policies and dedication and desire with rich energy to turn things around. Because Buhari said if he had known that the economy was like this, that he would not have contested. So let us be very clear. He did some turnaround, but the team he brought in, some of the people he appointed as ministers, developed itching fingers. That is a fact. And that was a fact.
Now, which is another point I'm bringing in, because some people felt he divided Nigeria. The nepotism in his ministerial nominations were controversial, to say the least. Let's not talk about, some people felt the sympathy for Fulani, kind of made Fulani headsmen run rampage.
Yes, yes, yes. Like in the South, we had the governor, late Akeredolu, who spoke eloquently against the invasion of the Fulani herders on rural areas. You see, one thing which most leaders in Nigeria, I would say probably 90% of them, do not know the meaning of rural. In the developed nations, the rural areas are given better attention, better security, better facilities, because those are the areas that needed peace 100% for them to be able to guarantee food sustainability. But in Nigeria, they want water resources so that we can corner 25-kilometer radius for the cattle grazers. They will pollute the water without any remediation before it gets to the community, who are also going to use the stream water. So, but by and large, we were able to stop him. The governors in the South did anti-open grazing laws, which rattled him. Yes, he was tribalistic a bit, emotional about his tribe, but at the same time, he was challenged. And he was challenged all through till he left power, from Ruga to cattle grazing route, back to water resource management. He was challenged all through.
Sorry, sir. Who challenged him? Because, I mean, his National Assembly was practically a rubber stamp. I think the National Assembly in his presidency is even worse than the one we have now.
The one we have now, let me call it a caricature. Because look at the issue of emergency in rivers. Rather than to do normal voting, they did voice voting. Even the voice voting was not well captured. You see, leadership has failed in Nigeria. And you can see what a lady staff director in the National Assembly as a staff revealed on oversight issues. We are being crushed by the same political class that are supposed to give us dividends of democracy. They are being crushed from councillors, from local government chairmen, to House of Assembly, to states, to National Assembly, to National Executive, to even the judiciary, to even the security institutions. Virtually all the government institutions are very weak. National Assembly is weak, judiciary is weak, the security institutions are very weak. So that is what we had. A bit of this, we saw them during Buhari. Now they are very brilliant in Tinubu's government. We are in a difficult situation, very difficult situation.
Because
how we are going to get out of it is in God's hand.
Critics, which I'm very sure there are very many, will say that the template that the APC is following now is the one created by him, where it has become more of an autocratic government than a democratic government. I mean, and the biggest highlight is going to be the Lekki toll gates and, the killing. That bloodshed will definitely be added to his legacy, according to some Nigerians.
Well, the killing was wrong. Those peaceful Nigerians were carrying Nigerian flags, singing their anthem, their country's anthem, and they were being plummeted with bullets at the dead of the night. It was a sorrowful day, very sorrowful for some of us in our leadership forum and for all of Nigerians. And that was what resulted in the mob action, because it was like a mini revolution. In a revolution, there will be mob actions. You can't evade when people have figured out how to save themselves. You can never. That is the meaning of a revolution. when people figure it out on how to save themselves. May his soul rest in peace. The wife has asked us for forgiveness. That president said he's asking for forgiveness for his lapses. And we have mentioned some of the lapses, which reminded me of some.
A lot. Now, finally, his death is a reignited conspiracy theory. You know what happened where we were told that Buhari died years ago, that this one really Nigeria is Jibrin from Sudan. And IPOB, made a statement which have actually reignited that conspiracy all over social media. People are now beginning to say, well, are you sure this man didn't die years ago, considering what has happened? You know, his illnesses have been shrouded in secrecy. A large part of his presidency, he kept traveling outside of this country for medical treatment. But what do you think about it?
When you mentioned IPOB, what is the full meaning of IPOB?
Indigenous People of Biafra.
Is that a registered NGO in Nigeria? If it is not, I will regard them as non-state actors, just like the Yoruba Nation. I don't believe in agitations or separations in this country, or of this country. So non-state actors, I have seen that we are even allowing them to rigmarole us, to show us the way.
So in other words, you think this is just a conspiracy theory that should be dismissed in its entirety?
Of course, look, Yoruba Ronu is a registered forum, and the interest of Nigeria and Nigeria alone is uppermost on our hearts. Divisiveness, tribalism, we are not going to play any part of it. IPOB is a divisive non-state actor, because they are not registered.
Okay, away from that, because of time, let's quickly move to the local government election that was done in Lagos, with APC winning all 57 chairmanship seats, and they also won 375 out of 376 councillorship seats in the election. What do you make of that election?
It was the election, because I monitored through the phone. The first person I called, I have not started the conversation when the person hinted me that people did not come out to vote. Very scanty. And secondly, the hunger, the hardship are enough to keep people at home. So whatever APC is rejoicing about, they rejoice, and happiness based on ignorance, exactly the way ignorance does their happiness. Let them be happy that they have won this, they have won that. But the larger election, the bigger election will be coming in 2027. That is when they can see clearly, or they will see clearly what is going to be.
So in other words, are you in the same camp with the opposition party that says the election doesn't exactly reflect the will of the people in Lagos State? Because
the election was not a true representation of anything you can refer to as democracy. Anybody commending that election, I always quote Socrates or Aristotle that a fool will always have something to say. So I don't say more than that. I will quote Socrates, Plato on an issue that I don't want to be involved in the controversy. Let them make their happiness, let them jubilate. But once they sit down and reflect, they will know 6 million voters in Lagos, how many came out for local government election? So it does not represent anything in our democratic experience. Nothing more than the tricks of the Lagos boys. But at the national level, you could see a change coming easily upon Tinubu presidency himself over Shettima's statements.
How realistic do you think that change will be if the change doesn't start from the grassroots? Let's take the coalition now, for example, the ADC, where you have some people in the PDP and some people in the Labour Party being part of the coalition. But if they don't start from winning the local government and councillorship elections, how do you think they can help to galvanize grassroots votes when it comes to the national stage?
Okay. We witnessed the Lagos State local government election on Saturday. How many people came out? I told you that election represented nothing at the grassroots. The grassroots are tired of them. They are tired of the political class. We don't want these people again. They are not ashamed of themselves that they are being reigned with curses. Yes, let us call a spade a spade. APC to many Nigerians is a dead party. And in 2027, if things do not turn around, and when I say things should turn around, the president should start to tinker with his cabinet. Allow your MDAs to speak out on their projects. It is not for Bayo Ononuga to speak for Foreign Affairs Ministry, or Bayo Ononuga to speak for Agriculture and Finance Ministry. There must be division of labor. How they are going to win the next election cannot be a Lagos election that we witness, and other states local government election are not always different from what we have witnessed in Lagos.
Okay, sir.
Yes.
It's always a pleasure talking to you. Unfortunately, it's time for us to go. Thank you very much, Mr. Malaolu.
Thank you, Solomon. Thank you, listeners.
That was Aki Malaolu, president of Yoruba Ronu Leadership Forum. And a quick look at our international news now. United States President Donald Trump has said he will send Patriot air defense systems to Ukraine as his administration signals a growing disillusionment with Russian President Vladimir Putin's refusal to negotiate an end to Moscow's invasion. Trump, who told reporters at Joint Base Andrews in Maryland on Sunday, said he had not decided on the number of Patriot batteries he will send to Ukraine, but they're going to have some because they do need protection. Trump's comments come after he last weekend confirmed that his administration had decided to sell weapons to NATO allies in Europe for them to pass on to Kyiv. Trump is set to meet NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte this week for discussions expected to focus on his plans to supply weapons to Ukraine. Rutte's trip to Washington, D.C. comes as Trump was teased that he will make a major statement on Russia on Monday. After campaigning on a promise to bring a swift end to the war in Ukraine, Trump has expressed growing frustration with Putin's refusal to agree to a ceasefire and a peace deal. Fighting between the Bedouin tribes and local fighters in the predominantly Druze city of Sueda in southern Syria has killed more than 30 people and injured 100 others, the Syrian Ministry of Interior says. The ministry late on Sunday expressed deep concern and sorrow over the bloody development that took place between local armed groups and tribes in eastern Sueda, Mawazd neighborhood. In this context, the Ministry of Interior confirms that units of its forces, in coordination with the Ministry of Defense, will intervene directly in the region to resolve the conflict, stop clashes, impose security, prosecute those responsible for the event, and refer them to the competent judiciary. it said in a statement. The Syrian Observatory for Human Rights said on Monday that at least 37 people were killed, 27 of them Druze, including 2 children. The Druze religious sect is a minority group that originated as the 10th century offshoot of a branch of Shia Islam. In Syria, they primarily reside in the southern Suweda province and some suburbs of Damascus, mainly in Jaramana and Ashrafiyat Sinai to the south. And finally, to sports now, Cole Palmer scored 2 goals and made another as Chelsea stunned Paris Saint-Germain PSG in the final of the Club World Cup on Sunday, beating the European champions 3-0 in the MetLife Stadium to win the first edition of FIFA's new competition. PSG were the favorite for a game attended by Donald Trump after coming to the United States fresh from winning the UEFA Champions League and having destroyed Real Madrid 4-0 in the semi-finals. But having been 3 goals ahead midway through the first half in the semis, this time the roles were reversed as PSG found themselves 3-0 down by the break. Palmer opened the scoring midway through the first half and struck again to make it 2.5-hour mark before taking advantage of a passive defending to set up João Pedro for the third on 43 minutes. A bad day for PSG was summed up when João Neves was shown red card following a VAR review 4 minutes from the end for pulling Marco Correa by the hair of the ball. It was a scoreline that few could have predicted as Chelsea capped what has been a long but memorable season. They are the first ever winners of the 32-team Club World Cup, having also won the UEFA Conference League and finished 4th in the Premier League. They will also take away around $125 million in prize money, meaning the prospect of a drastically curtailed summer break before returning for next season will surely feel worth it. And that's the news, but before we go, here again are the top stories. Shettima and Gbajabiamila arrive in London to receive Buhari's body. National Assembly postpones legislative duties to July 22 to honor Buhari. IPOB reacts, igniting conspiracy theory of Buhari's death. Governor Sanwo-Olu celebrates APC's local government election victory. Opposition parties reject Lagos local government election results. Nigeria's US exports plummet by $527 million amid rising trade tensions. On a foreign scene, Trump says US would send Patriot missiles to Ukraine. And in sports, Chelsea stuns PSG 3-0 to win Club World Cup final. And that's the World News at 12. I am Solomon of FM. Do follow all our social media handles at VOP903FM. Subscribe to our YouTube channel at VOP903FM. Good afternoon and thank you for listening.